Hello everyone, my name is Meghan LeVota and I offer wisdom, tools, and support for personality integration. And today I'm going to be discussing the cognitive function of introverted intuition. So if you have been following my channel for a while and you're pretty familiar with personality typology, you are probably already familiar with cognitive functions, and you know that NI, or introverted intuition, is one of them. But in this video I'm going to be giving the gist of what this is and what this means in my own words. So introverted intuition, also known as NI, it is a introverted perceiving function. And so the types that use this function the most in their ego consciously are ENFJs, INFJs, INTJs, and ENTJs. So when you hear people, when you hear me say NJs or anyone in the type community referring to the NJs, they're referring to the people who prefer and use introverted intuition naturally. So because it is an introverted perceiving function, this lends to subjective, narrow perception. It is also very deep perception. NI is not the only introverted perceiving function. SI is also an introverted perceiving function. But the way that NI works is intuitive. And so what does intuitive refer to? Intuition is referring to abstract conceptual perception, while SI and sensing is referring to physical, like facts in the real world that are, tangible. There's lots of different keywords we can throw around with that. So, and I also want to clarify that when we're talking about the cognitive functions, any function that is introverted is also subjective, while any function that is extroverted is also objective. So NI and SI are the subjective perceiving functions because, think of it as it is me as a subject seeing these abstract patterns through my own lens. That's pretty much what NI is. And for those of you who follow Synchronic Saturdays, which is my podcast, my co-host ENFP Crystal and I have been discussing these cognitive functions, so you can check that out. And through our sort of discovery of talking about them, and we've been talking about the high vibe and low vibe manifestations of these functions and how they manifest across a spectrum, we've concluded that something about NI that makes it unique from the other functions is that NI as an energy seeks to understand. And you can compare that to how NE seeks to imagine, SI seeks homeostasis, and SE seeks impact. These are just the keywords that I've come up with that I'm going to start sharing more about in these little short videos. So if NI is a subjective perceiving function that focuses on the abstract concepts, it also seeks to understand. And so it is zeroing in very precisely at concepts that are intangible. And it perceives those patterns over time at a very deep level in order to understand at the root conceptual level. So the reason for why you see a lot of NJs act the way they act is because they have this desire to understand the world around them. That's why NJs are often known for being really deep thinkers and really into philosophy and really into innovation and change. And I do think that a lot of NJs tend to have a growth mindset, because when you are so deeply focused on these underlying patterns and concepts in a more precise way, rather than NE is a lot more broad and a lot more objective, NE seeks to imagine. They don't really need to understand what's in front of them. when they see something in front of them, NE is trying to then move on and connect that thing to something else and imagine more on top of the thing, where NI looks at the thing and wants to understand the thing as deeply as possible. So even though we see a lot of mistypes in the community where NJs think they're NPs and NPs think they're NJs, the way that NI and NE work are very, very different. And I've found that saying NI seeks to understand, NE seeks to imagine is really helpful and really useful. I mean, obviously everyone is still going to have their own interpretation of what these words mean, but I have found it to be true. And, you know, the lower manifestations of NI at its worst can feel like a total black hole of not knowing what is going on, not understanding things fully and wishing that they did, and then completely doubting themselves and feeling like they can't share any of their insights because they don't understand anything enough, and they don't understand what's going to happen next. They have a lot of existential crises. They're like, I don't know what it means to be human. I don't know what happens after death. And they just, unhealthy NI can be a total black hole where they'll just implode in themselves, where healthy NI is very wise and has a lot of insights and has a very sharp understanding about the world around them that they like to offer others, and they like to apply to innovative pursuits. Because if you understand something really well and you're the expert in it, then you can bring those ideas forth and sharpen things in the world around you. And NI is connected to SE, which seeks impact, and SE is about the objective physical facts. It is a lot more about physical force, where for NJs, NI precedes SE, so it's the sharp insight and wisdom that then directs the force of SE, whether in themselves or in others. So yeah, and intuition in general is abstract and about perceiving patterns, but the way that NI does so is to really understand the depths of those patterns at its core level. What is this concept, and how does this concept lead to other things? And they aren't as concerned as NE is as trying to connect that concept to all other concepts that ever exist. So this is another reason why at their worst, NI can sort of be in a vacuum, like that black hole thing I'm talking about. Like, they might have really sharp insight but not know how to connect it to anything outside of their own brain. And, you know, they can get delusional that way, because if you're not gathering enough other insights, then you might not even realize how biased your own perception is. And, you know, NI can be very stubborn, just as SI can. So I hope that you learned something in this video. If you have any questions, let me know. And, you know, I do offer personality typing sessions that are linked below, where I can use my knowledge of the cognitive functions as I understand them and sort of get to know you a little bit and show you what cognitive functions I see displayed in your behavior. And I will offer you your top 4 personalities that you might be and those definitions, so you can look at it yourself and figure out what you think. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.